But as you know, opioid addiction is a pandemic and it affects so many people. And tonight you are going to hear from people who have been affected. You're going to hear from people who have been in addiction and are in recovery, and people who have lost loved ones. And I promise you, this is going to be a very powerful event. And to kick it off right now, we have a video introduction from the Mayor of Raleigh, Mary-Ann Baldwin.
Hello, I'm Mary-Ann Baldwin, Mayor of Raleigh. On behalf of the City of Raleigh and the Raleigh City Council, I'm proud to welcome you to the People's Opioid Summit. Substance use disorder, also known as addiction, is a chronic health issue and brain disease that is devastating lives, families, and communities. It happens right here in Raleigh and communities around the world. Opioid-related overdose deaths in North Carolina have doubled in the past 10 years alone and happen in every socioeconomic group, neighborhood, city, and town. The possibility that anyone who takes prescription opioids can become addicted is staggering. Opioid addiction impacts people of every age, race, income level, country of origin, sexual orientation, and more. As we make our way through the pandemic, even more people are becoming isolated, experiencing new and different stress, and have less support than they were accustomed to pre-COVID. There is some indication that these factors are leading to higher rates of opioid use, abuse, and overdose. The People's Opioid Summit has been created to help individuals get the resources and assistance they need for themselves and their loved ones. We're also here to celebrate those who are in recovery and honor those who have lost their battles. The summit includes a full schedule of speakers, panels, breakout sessions, and additional information from solution providers covering a range of topics. The People's Opioid Summit is here to help people who use opioids, as well as their loved ones, help them learn about additional resources and be reminded that they are not alone in this fight. This is an epidemic that we all need to come together to combat. I'm so glad that you're all here and hope that this event provides you with hope, inspiration, solace, and useful information. Thank you.
Sure. Next, I'd like to introduce the Master of Ceremonies, Marilyn Shannon. She wears so many hats. Not only is she the organizer of tonight's event, but she's a coach, she's a speaker, she's an author, she's a TV host. And one of my favorite lines from her bio is that she is guiding others to essential truths. Basically, her goal is to make a difference in the world. And tonight, she's definitely making a difference. Marilyn.
Thank you so much, Amanda. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming tonight. This is just extraordinary. And I want to thank our team who has worked endless hours, and I mean endless hours, to put this together for a year. And it has definitely been a labor of love. And so for me, this started about 2 years ago when I began writing my 4th book in the series In Just One Afternoon, Listening to the Hearts of. And my 4th book was Listening to the Hearts of People Impacted by Opioid Addiction. I didn't know that much about it, but I just listened. And I interviewed all these people, and someone, a dear friend, said to me, Marilyn, you have to interview this woman. She's amazing, she's a mother, and she is dating a gentleman who is addicted to heroin. And she went into the relationship knowing that he was addicted to heroin, and it shook me up. And I said, oh my gosh, who is this woman? How can anybody get involved with someone that she already knows is addicted to heroin? So I spoke with her, and within a moment or two, I realized she was a wonderful woman. She was a lovely mother. She fell in love with a man. And oh, by the way, this man was addicted to heroin. That was it. He was a man, and he was a good man. And so then I met his mother, and I thought, oh my God, what was his house like growing up? I had all these things that were going on in my mind. And so I met this woman, and I talked to her, and she made dinner every night, and she went to school meetings, and she loved her son beyond. And then I realized, okay, well, it's not just the environment. And then I met the man. And I traveled with him, and I'm going to cry. I traveled with him for months, with him up and down, shooting up, not shooting up, listening to his story. And I realized, again, he was a good guy. he was a good guy, and all of my stereotypes just went out the window. And I realized that this was important, not just for me to realize, but for the world to realize what addiction was and who the families are and who the loved ones are and who the addicts are. And so that is why we are now doing the People's Opioid Summit. So thank you all for being here. I will see you all tomorrow. And I am very grateful for everyone that is here tonight that's willing to speak. So thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, Marilyn, for sharing all that. I didn't know your story, so I really appreciate hearing all that. Next, we're going to introduce a really special person who's going to be doing an activity tonight during our show. Lyudmilla Tomova is going to be painting live. Now, I did a little bit of research on her. She's originally from Bulgaria. She's been in the US for 29 years. Her expertise is in painting watercolors. She combines realism and abstract elements to tell a story with her art. And that is what she's going to be doing tonight. Her work has been honored and shown all over the world. And we are so lucky to have her here. So please welcome Lyudmilla and tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing during the show.
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really honored to be part of this wonderful summit. So I really thought very hard what I should be painting, and I wanted to paint something that inspires hope and has a positive message. So what came to mind was I decided to paint a health fairy with a bird. And why I chose a bird to go along with a health fairy is because my little research showed me that birds are actually messengers and have certain meaning when they appear in people's lives. So I decided to paint an eagle. And why I chose the eagle is because, and I will read it because I can't remember everything I read, but it's because it's a symbol of healing, enlightenment, freedom. And also when it comes into our lives, it means it's time to look inward with a careful eye, and also it's time for us to allow our heart to guide us, and the opportunities that we never dreamed were possible will present themselves. So I thought that's a very, very positive message, and I will be painting in the next hour and a half.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your art with us. And we're going to keep checking in with you and see how it's going. So thank you very much. You know, we promised you a lot of speakers tonight, and every one of them has a story to tell. So next, we're going to go to one of those people. We can watch Lyudmilla. She's getting ready here to begin her painting. The next speaker you're going to hear from is Frida McDonald, and I've had the pleasure of meeting her over the years in many different settings related to this issue and also domestic violence. And she lost both of her sons, one of them to an overdose in 2016. So if you are one of those families tonight that is grieving, that is in pain, that has a similar story, she is somebody that can understand that pain. And she created these banners. They're called the North Carolina banners, which include photos of people that we have lost and who have died from opioid overdoses. And those banners, she's going to show us and explain what they're all about. And they are just a powerful representation, as Lyudmilla's art is going to be, of this issue, and just a strong reminder that in every one of these situations, there is a person who lived and walked the earth and had a family that loved them. Frida.
Yes, thank you so much, Amanda. It is really great to be here. And again, Marilyn, thank you for all you did to put this together for us. I would like to say that the banners that I have behind me here are the National Can You See Me Now banners. And I do have my son on these banners. I am currently working on the North Carolina banners, and they are not ready yet, but they are in production. So I did want to at least show you what made me think about creating banners. I would really like to thank all of you for taking time to virtually participate tonight. And again, Marilyn, all your hard work in organizing this event for the whole last year. You have truly listened with your heart to many survivor stories, including my own, and you have listened well. Two of the greatest gifts were my sons. And as Amanda said, I tragically lost both of my sons. My oldest son, Stephen, was lost to homicide. The ripple effect of grief is relentless, and I have seen grief take siblings, parents, and children right into the world of addiction far too many times. My son Michael was devastated when he lost his brother, and he became addicted to opioids and fought heroin addiction the last 2 years of his life. Michael lost his battle with addiction on Valentine's Day 2016. My son Stephen had a great quote that I'd like to share with all of you. What's done is done, what's here is now, so make the best out of the worst and strive to make the best better. Don't you just love that quote? It really says everything that we need to know from someone who only lived 24 years. He also would say to me regularly, you gotta know hope, Mama. My hope in this journey is found by seeing so many people like Marilyn listening and working to bring awareness and support to so many who work in the world of recovery, and to the heroes who fight daily to overcome the disease of addiction. This summit and other recovery awareness events are hope to me. It is only in the awareness and support of this battle that we can collectively join together in an effort to help navigate the tragedy of addiction, regardless of the stigma and judgment. We cannot understand or fight any battle if we leave it in the dark. I so admire people who are in recovery, whether it be in a NA meeting or just a talk between a couple of friends. I've often heard, I am in recovery fighting, and I get up every day and continue to fight again. Those still fighting addiction and people in recovery, grieving families and friends are all connected. We strive to get better, and we work to keep our head up in spite of addiction and the ripple effect it produces. We are truly always in the process of healing. One of the most powerful projects that I've seen in the last few years since the loss of Michael is the Can You See Me Now banners. I have just 3 of them behind me. Tracy Curtis Carter lost her son, Robert Lee Chandler III. He went by Trey on November the 15th, 2018. She stated, and I'm quoting, I was praying for a way to deal with grief and had a vision about honoring victims of overdose by making banners with their faces on them. In May 2019, she started a Facebook page, and the Facebook was called, her page, Can You See Me Now? And on this page, she asked people who had loved ones that they had lost to the opioid crisis if they would simply post a picture of them and ask for them to be placed on a banner, that she would be honored to do that for them. Tracy decided that she would place 150 faces on each banner. And she had absolutely no idea that between that decision in May 2019 to now, that she would be completing, as she's done in the last 2 weeks, her 20th banner. The power of her banners is in the faces. Instead of numbers and stats, you see people. Beautiful people who fought the fight and lost their battle. And as you can see, the National Can You See Me Now banners here today, each beautiful, far too young person, all represent a life cut too short. These banners have been shown all over our country. They have been in rehabs, recovery meetings, international overdose walks, and all kinds of events associated with overdose awareness. I would like just to introduce 4 young people who are on these banners. Each one has a mother that's participating in this summit. And first of all, I would like to show you my son, Michael Hoyle. And Michael is on this banner. And this was the 4th banner that was made by Tracy in the 20 banners. And tomorrow we have the JoCo Angels, and they will be doing a panel for us. And in their honor, I would like to introduce 3 of the JoCo Angels children that are on these banners. Kelly Bloss is the president of JoCo Angels, and this is her son, David Steen. That is banner number 5. And Rhonda Toppings, vice president of JoCo Angels, Jordan Chance Toppings. He is on banner number 6. And Danette Jernigan, the public relations representative, her daughter, beautiful daughter, Dakota Strickland, is on banner number 6 as well. I would like to say that I only knew a few people on these banners, but unfortunately, I personally knew far too many. And in addition to the young people that I knew even more from just the introductions that I have made with other families. Marilyn, again, thank you for all your time, remembering our loved ones, and celebrating recovery. Together, we can all make a difference, and it's really an honor to be here tonight. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you so much, Frida. That was beyond powerful to see those banners behind you. And I think you mentioned something really key, which is the ripple effect. And that is, it goes out in concentric circles when somebody dies of an overdose. It's the immediate family, then it may be a spouse, children, friends, parents, cousins, and it just keeps going out, that ripple effect. So thank you for sharing that with us, because
Yes.
I think that's a really important point to make. And I think a lot of people will benefit tomorrow from hearing from some of those parents on that panel. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to talk to some people who actually have been in addiction and beat it. And I think, as anyone who's been in that experience knows, it is one day at a time. It is with support from family and friends. It is with help from maybe professionals in the community, whether it be NA, whether it be a rehab facility. And I just recalled tonight, as I met them when they came in to the Zoom, that I had done a story with Tisha Temple. Casey and Tisha are a married couple. They're in recovery. And Casey has been sober since 2013, Tisha since 2014. And what they really want to do is they want to help others. They are determined to help other people go down this path, to be an inspiration, to be mentors, to help people who are struggling with addiction. And we just really appreciate them being here to share their story. So please welcome Casey and Tisha Temple.
Hey everyone, I'm Casey Temple, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here with my lovely wife as well, and all those tuning in. I'm going to tell a little bit about my story. I grew up in Raleigh. I grew up to 2 alcoholic and addict parents, and from the early age, I learned to stuff my feelings down inside because I never knew what type of response I was going to get from my parents. And so I grew up all the way up into my teenage years, not expressing my feelings in a healthy manner. And so I took my first drink and smoked marijuana at the age of 17. And by the time I got to 19, 20 years old, my suicidal thoughts had taken over quite a bit in my life. And at the age of 20, in May of 2000, I attempted to end my life with a shotgun. And I can tell you that when I woke up in the hospital, I was very disappointed that what I did did not work. I really didn't want to die at the time. I just wanted the pain to stop. I had had suicidal thoughts in the past, and I had never really got to the breaking point of where I wanted to end it. I just wanted the pain to stop. And so when I woke up and I was still alive, I was very distraught. I was very disappointed. And as a result of the gunshot wound, to this day, I've had 31 surgeries, maybe 32, I lost count. But as a result of all the surgeries, I was on an immense amount of pain medication. I was in the hospital for a few months before I got out the first time, and I was on morphine pumps and all types of stuff that I quickly got accustomed to taking on a daily basis. And even when I was out of the hospital and my prescriptions ran out, I had to find somebody off the street that sold the opioids. And it consumed my life, it consumed my thoughts, it consumed my actions. And that was the only thing that I cared about, was that next fix. Because I was uncomfortable with myself. I was uncomfortable in my own skin. I was looking to feel different. I wasn't necessarily looking to feel better. I just settled for different. And I could not look at myself in the mirror. And I attempted to go to a detox in Holly Hill. And I detoxed from opioids for 11 days. And I went to a rehab in Florida. And I came home and I relapsed. I started using it again. And I started attempting to go to AA meetings, and I still continued to slip. I eventually got to a point in my life where the suicidal thoughts had come back. I had left a meeting, and when I got home, I Googled how to try to commit suicide through carbon monoxide poisoning with my car. And my son was sitting right beside me on the couch as I was doing it. And I reached out and I asked God to please take away this feeling. Please take away this addiction. Please take away these negative feelings. And since that day, to December 2007, 2013, I haven't found it necessary to put a drink of alcohol or an opioid or any type of mood-altering substance into my body. And I truly believe that God took that away, but I had to learn how to deal with what was left once he took away that addiction. I had to learn why I used, why I felt the need to feel different, why I could not be comfortable in my own skin. And so I started attending meetings, and I learned those things very quickly. And I was going to a certain 12-step program, and I felt like it wasn't enough, and I felt like it wasn't giving me what I needed spiritually. And so I want to say right quick that I met my beautiful wife in the rooms in a 12-step program. And like Amanda said, our sobriety dates and clean dates are only a little bit apart. And we have been in recovery together, and I wouldn't want to do it with any other person. We started attending a church, and we started going to Celebrate Recovery, which is a faith-based 12-step program. And it recently branched out and it changed to Recovery Alive. And we go there every Friday night. We try to help others, and we share our story. Every time we are asked to share our story, we always say yes, no matter what. And I just want to use my story to help avert death or misery for one person. If I can share my story and one person is listening right now, and if they can see any amount of hope in my story, then all of those past events that have happened in my life are for something. I truly believe that I did not go through the things I've been through in my life for no reason. My life has meaning. My life has purpose. We got married November 2nd of last year. We just bought our very first home 3 months ago. I received custody of my son in 2014 after I got clean and sober. And I just give all praise to God and all the people that have helped me in my recovery journey. And I just want to thank Marilyn for putting this together, and Frida for linking us up together with her and giving this opportunity to share our experience, strength, and hope with you all. And I'm glad to be here, and I'm going to hand it over to my wonderful wife, Tisha.
Hey, everybody. My name's Tisha, and I am a woman who's living in long-term recovery. And what that means to me is that I have not found it necessary to use any mind or mood altering substances since July the 26th of 2014. I'll just give you a shortcut, as I am long-winded. So I am going to put it in a nutshell. I grew up in a very small town. I was raised in a good Christian family. I did not try drugs, cigarettes, alcohol, any of those things until I was 26 years old. At the age of 26, I tried them all in one night. That included cocaine, cigarettes, alcohol, and pain pills. Within 6 months of that, I had completely abandoned my children and walked away and was living homeless and prostituting in the street. My drug of choice at that time, or substance of choice at that time, was crack cocaine. I did 2 prison sentences. I came home. I knew nothing about recovery. I didn't have a program. I was not surrounding myself with people who knew what it was like to be me. I got in a relationship that was abusive. I returned to use. I tried heroin for the first time in May. In that July, I shot up for the first time, and I went for 2 more years living homeless in the street. And I was using heroin and crack cocaine many times a day. That took me back to prison for the 3rd time. I was given treatment through the Department of Corrections. I was sent to Swannanoa. I did that treatment program. I moved into an Oxford house in Wake County. Didn't go back to my same neighborhood, people, places, things. Got a job, completed my parole, went to meetings, met other women who knew what it was like to be me. They taught me how to love myself. Met this gorgeous guy right here. I did move out of the Oxford house. I lived on my own for over a year. Then we moved in together. We started going to church together, and like he said, to the recovery program. We got married last year. My daughter has a baby. He just turned 1. I have a daughter who just started an accelerated nursing program at Belmont after she graduated from ECU this past spring. I have an older son, who is working a really good job and making a good life with his girlfriend. Casey's son, Caleb, stays here with us. He's growing and finding himself, and recently got baptized. And we're able to enjoy all of those moments because of recovery and what other people poured into us. I'll be graduating from Wake Tech in the fall with an associate's degree in substance use, human services and substance use. I recently sat for the test with the North Carolina Addiction Specialist Professional Practice Board. I passed that test. So I'm currently working under the 6,000 hours of internship to complete the criteria to receive my certification. Oxford House, I do peer mentoring with them at 6 of the women's houses in Wake County, and I work full-time with Alcohol Drug Council of North Carolina. We provide information and referrals for treatment services in all 100 counties, and I'm very proud to be able to do that today. We talk to moms who need treatments for their children. We talk to children who need treatments for their moms, and we talk to people who are seeking treatment for themselves. So it's just what we're passionate about. And I also have a ministry that goes out into the streets and shares recovery Bibles with others, and food and clothes, and sometimes just somebody to talk to. And I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be able to share about us and who we are, and to get to know you guys. And I just love the recovery community, and I love the fact that other people stand up and talk about what's going on. We can't continue to sweep it under the rug. People are losing their lives, and it's important. Thank y'all for letting us share.
Thank you so much.
Tisha and Casey, thank you so much for sharing your story. I mean, I don't think that anyone listening right now who's been in this situation doesn't understand what you guys went through to get to where you are. The journey that you've gone through is amazing. Tisha, remind me, when did we do the story together?
I want to say it was maybe like 2 years ago. And just a quick that a police officer is why that story was done. The officer who arrested me the last time I was arrested when I went to prison for the third time, he helped me. And I'm now friends with him and his family. And he's a huge source of support out in the community in Henderson. And there's a lot of drug activity and overdoses happening in Vance County. And you came out and gave credit to that officer for caring about who I was in his backseat. I wasn't a prostitute who was using heroin and was at a dope house. I was a human being, and he asked me why I was there and what brought me there and what he could do to help me be different. And you came out and spoke to us, and it was good to share that there are safe people to go to in the community. And I appreciate you doing that.
Well, I remember that story once you reminded me of it tonight, and it was very powerful. So thank you guys again so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Now we're going to move on to some more art, a different kind of art. We're going to hear a poem that was written by author Diana Henderson. Now, Diana also wears many hats. She started writing in grade school. She's a writer, an editor, a novelist, a poet, and tonight she's going to share a very special piece of work with us. And here's Diana.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I appreciate so much what everyone has been sharing tonight. It is so meaningful, and I feel so deeply your stories. And thank you for sharing them. The poem I'm going to read is called An Empath's Message, and I'll just read that for you. I can sense your sadness. It comes on every day. I can feel your loneliness, and I will not turn away. I know your sense of loss, your troubled soul, it calls. No matter what the cost, I shall not let you fall. Won't turn my heart to stone to shut off all the pain when you're hiding there alone and wondering if you're sane. So hear these words, my friend. I'm standing with you now. I'll be here till the end, even when I don't know how. To lift you back to grace, to soothe your grieving heart, take you from this shadow place, help you make a brighter start. My heart reaches out to yours, even through the darkest night, and love forever pours, hoping you can find the light. Thank you.
Thank you. That was absolutely beautiful. We're really so lucky to have people like you here tonight, and everyone from the art community who's supporting this event. Next, I have the pleasure of introducing our featured speaker, Darren Prince. Now, Darren Prince is a celebrity agent for a long list of people that you might be familiar with. Magic Johnson, Hulk Hogan, or a few of those names. He's also the author of the international best-selling book, Aiming High. But tonight, he's going to speak to you from a different vantage point. He's going to speak to you as a recovering addict from a personal vantage point. And we really appreciate you being here, Darren. Just thank you so much for sharing your message with us.
Thanks for having me, Amanda. I appreciate it. And Marilyn, Shannon, thank you as well. All the speakers, it's an honor to be a part of the People's Opiate Summit. I landed from California, New York about 2 hours ago. And sorry, I landed from New York about 2 hours ago, and nothing comes before my recovery. You know, it's an absolute privilege. I'm here to tell everybody about the 24-year hell of my opiate addiction to the beauty of 12 years of spiritual recovery. I grew up in New Jersey, had a great loving mother and father, you know, had a lot of friends, very close with my sister. You wouldn't think somebody like me would have felt victim to addiction, but I had all the inside stuff problems, like not feeling a part of, never feeling comfortable in my own skin, not feeling like I belong. And I think a lot of that came when I was in high school, growing up in junior high, I was classified with a severe learning disability, and I was put in very small classrooms, and I was often verbally teased and called names like dumb and idiot. And I kind of felt like a social outcast because of that. And I never spoke up about it. And, I truly believe when you bury that stuff into your core, you look for any type of escape. So when I was in sleepaway camp at 14 years old, one night I had terrible stomach pains, and I asked the counselor to take me to see the nurse, and she gave me this green liquid in a clear cough syrup cup and told me to take it. It should help me sleep and take the pain away. Within a couple minutes, as bad as it tasted, as I was walking across the softball field, I still remember the feeling like yesterday, 36 years ago, and it felt like heaven. Every one of those inadequacies I just mentioned, the feeling of less than, not feeling a part of, not feeling comfortable in my skin, went away like that. And I actually felt like Superman. I had no idea what it was, but I got back to the bunk. I was the cool kid, the funny one, the talkative one. I went to the bunk next door to chat with some of the girls for the first time in my life. And I didn't know what the heck it was that I took, but I knew I needed to feel that way 24/7. And I went to bed that night, did all my activities the next day. And without even thinking about it, that night I'm lying in bed with no stomach pain. And I'm telling myself, I got to go back to the nurse, because whatever that feeling is, I need more of it. So for 3 straight weeks, until my mom and dad came up for visitation day, I found out I was taking liquid Demerol. Let's just say that was the end of that. My mom and dad obviously had some words with the camp counselors, the owners of the camp, and I thought that was the end of it. But within a few months, I had a dentist appointment in New Jersey. And 1 in 3 kids nowadays that go to a dentist to get opiates become addicted. I was one of those 3. I got my wisdom teeth removed. He gave my mom these white pills. I had no idea what they were, but I took 2 of them, and within an hour, that feeling from sleepaway camp came right back. I'm calling up my friends. I'm the talkative one, the guy with the great ideas, feeling superior. And the pills ran out within 2 days. So I learned how to con and lie and really cheat and manipulate in that moment, the same way I did at sleepaway camp. And I went downstairs to my mom. I put the crocodile tears on. I said, Mom, my tooth is killing me. We got to go back to the dentist. I think I have a horrible infection. As a loving mother who wants to see their child suffer in pain, right? She took me back to the dentist. I found out he was giving me extra strength Vicodins, and I conned him for 3 more days of pills. Now, for the next 4 or 5 years, I partied like a rock star. I experimented with anything without any repercussions whatsoever until I hit 21 years old. I was arrested 4 times in a matter of 6 months. Possession charge, paraphernalia, but it wasn't my fault. Never looked at myself once. I thought it was bad timing. The police never should have been there. It should have been my friends, not me. The judge thought differently. He put me into a program at St. Barnabas Hospital called the Alliance and told me I had to complete it within a year. And if I got in trouble, I'd be looking at a minimum of 6 months in prison. With about a week to go in the program, I got the good news that I made it. I felt I graduated. So I got this amazing idea to go with my friend Dave to New York City and celebrate and do these mind eraser shots. And on the way into the city, we took a handful of Xanax, these mind eraser shots at a place called Jimmy's Cafe in New York City. And next thing you know, our minds were erased because I woke up in the ICU. See, Dave fell asleep behind the wheel. His car went into the ditch. My face went into the windshield with 90 stitches, broken nose, my lip split in half, concussion, glass everywhere all over my face. Who are the first 2 people I see 1 week after I left the Alliance program? My mom and dad with tears running down their face in the hospital, in the ICU, that they can't help their baby boy who's so sick and suffering and in complete denial that he's got a problem. And I had a lot going for me. I started a very successful baseball card company as a teenager. I sold them when I was 19. I had a sports memorabilia company. I eventually started the agency I have now, Prince Marketing Group, with Magic Johnson as my first client. But I was always looking for an outside fix that was ultimately an inside job. I never had any type of accountability whatsoever. I just thought I was the life of the party. But at one point, what was living to use turned out to using to live. That's the best way to describe it. I don't know when it turned on me, but I do know in my early 30s, I had my first overdose. I was in Las Vegas with one of my celebrity clients celebrating a television show deal, and I woke up with a horrible case of bronchitis. So I called the doctor to the room. He gave me a big prescription of Vicodin. Tussie and X, an opioid-based cough syrup, and some antibiotic. So when I went to the CVS pharmacy to pick it up, I called my then wife. I said, do me a favor, order me 3 vodka, Red Bull, and cranberries, because I think I'm good to go out tonight and celebrate. I came back to the room. I downed about 3 drinks right away, mixed it with a handful of Vicodin and half the bottle of Tussionex. Within 2 minutes, I'm on the ground. My heart's palpitating out of my chest. I'm sweating. I'm foaming at the mouth. I have no idea what's going on. All I know is I'm looking up at the sky, praying to God, don't take me. I don't know what the heck I just did. I'll never do this again. She freaked out. She called the paramedics. They came up within 5 minutes, oxygen mask on my face, needle in my arm, EKG machine everywhere. As all I'm doing is look up at the sky, praying to God, don't take me. I promise I'll never do this again. I never made it out that night, clearly. I woke up at 3 in the morning. I walked into the bathroom and I looked at myself. Bloodshot eyes, bags under my eyes. And I said to myself, you sick bastard, who does this? You have this amazing life. And with that, I finished the rest of the cough syrup and I chopped up 4 of the Vicodins and snorted them and went back to bed. And, you know, in that moment, that's one of those times where the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I finally had a little bit of accountability when I came home that week and I called an addiction psychiatrist. He told me I was an opiate addict and put me on Suboxone. Problem is I got addicted to Suboxone because during that 1.5 years of pure hell, I was also on anxiety medication, Ambien before I went to bed at night, drinking a few days a week, a mood stabilizer, and antidepressants. On July 1st of 2008 was the beginning of God really, truly coming into my life. Because my uncle and his then girlfriend, Andrea, were visiting my mom from Miami, Florida, and they were both in the 12-step fellowship of recovered alcoholics and addicts. And they paid a surprise visit to me at my condo in New Jersey, and I had no idea they were coming. And Andrea looked at me and she's like, are you okay? And I opened up. I had no idea who she was, but I was so sick and tired and desperate of living this double life. I didn't want to live anymore. I didn't want to wake up. I don't know how it got to this point. She said to me, do you realize you're an addict, that your life's unmanageable? I said, yes, I do. She goes, do you realize that you're powerless? I said, 100%. She goes, most importantly, and hear me out, do you realize that addiction does not discriminate? It doesn't care if you're from Yale or jail or Park Avenue or Park Bench. It'll take you 6 feet under. I said, 100%. And she goes, are you willing to do anything it takes? I said, I'll do anything. She put me on a 48-hour detox, which I don't recommend because I probably should have been in rehab. On that 48th hour, it was about 7 p.m. on July 2nd, 2008. I came back from the gym. I called them up in my apartment in New York City. I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm calling the doctor. I got to get what I really need to get. I'm opiate deficient. They both said, Darren, it's the damn disease talking. You got to go to a 12-step meeting. You got to put your hands up and you got to tell these people you're sick, you're suffering, and you need help, and you need to be accountable for the first time in your life. I said, there's no way I've been to those dumb meetings. I can't identify with those people. I ran into the bathroom to take a non-narcotic anxiety pill that I was allowed to take to help with the cravings. And out came 2 Percocets. And I swore that I cleaned out every medicine cabinet of the opiates. And for a split second, that was exactly what I needed at that moment. But then I fell on my knees. And that's when the miracle happened, because I was shaking, trembling, and crying. And I called out to God and I said, I can't do this anymore. I said, I need your help. And he heard me because I felt a burning sensation over my right shoulder. And I heard the voice say, I've got you when you're ready. And I stood up. I flushed the last of my pills. I wound up on the computer in the living room about 2 minutes later, and I found a 12-step meeting, and there was no Uber back then. I'm in a taxi cab heading to the upper 80s, looking up at the sky, saying, oh my God, for the first time in my life, I wanted to stay sober a little bit more than I wanted to get high. I walked into this church basement. There was about 150 to 200 addicts and alcoholics who were all once of a hopeless state of mind. And the leader said, is there anybody new? Anybody that needs help? This hand went right up because it wasn't about the so-called super agent life. I realized at that moment it was life and death. And I said, I'm sick, I'm desperate, I'm suicidal. I've got 36 hours clean, I need your guys' help. And about a dozen spiritual brothers and sisters who had no idea who I was came over to me, and they hugged me and they said, we've got you. We've been where you've been. It's a lot easier to stay here than it is to come back here. And I heard so many amazing sayings in that hour. Stick with the winners, take the cotton out of your ears, put it in your mouth. Become glasses half full in life, not glasses half empty. Focus on what you have, not what you don't have. And I became obsessed with meetings, at least the first 90 days, every day, sometimes twice a day, because I knew I needed to work on me on the inside. I knew that I needed to get to the root cause of why this behavior was happening for such a long time, so I could truly find the real Darren Prince. And one day at a time became a week, became a month. And before you know what, I hit my first year. And then I got several years. And I realized the most important thing about this God-given gift was to give it away to other people. And it's not that sobriety doesn't come with challenges. Just because you get sober, it doesn't mean life doesn't happen to you. But we get better because our perspective and perception changes on everything in life. And that's what started happening. And I became the person that my earth friends and family members would come to ask for advice, even my clients. You know, I've been through divorce, broken engagement, breakups, health issues, some surgeries. I've lost a couple clients in recovery, but I've learned to gut through all of it, never feeling so comfortable during uncomfortable times. And that's the greatest gift of all. But the biggest loss was my father. On February 15th of 2017, he passed away. He had an aorta aneurysm suddenly, in perfect health at 81 years old. And the true blessing about that whole experience was 32 days that he survived and came out of the coma. He had a sober son back for 8.5 years. 8.5 years, I was able to give him this incredible experience with his son. And that was such a blessing. And the night before he passed, I asked him if he was ready to go. And he looked away and said he was ready to die. I said, no problem. I said, I will speak to the doctors with Mom in the morning. You know, I understand. And just know I'm in the best place I've ever been. And I said to him, your son is going to touch the world in his own way of recovery, because I need other people to experience sober what it's to lose a loved one, a mother or a father especially, because I hear so many stories about people in recovery that never had that experience, to be able to feel it and deal with it and get to that next level of your spiritual growth. And since then, I've been incredibly blessed. I wrote a book, Aiming High, that became an international bestseller. As many people as it helped, it became so therapeutic for me. It's just been such a beautiful experience, you know, hearing from random people all over the world and speaking all around the country. I've been able to, you know, partner up with Banyan Treatment Center, Elite Home Detox. We help people that need it, you know, ones that can't afford it. These are all experiences that never would have happened in my life. And to see the lights come on somebody's eyes when you show that, look, we're all up for grabs. To me, adversity actually reveals character in life. And I've become so spiritual through this whole journey that I've learned to say what I mean and mean what I say and not say and mean. I try to understand people. During this pandemic, it's so easy for everybody to get stuck inside their own head. But for me, it's simple. Be of service. We're not responsible for our thoughts, but we are responsible for how long we want to think those thoughts. And we all have the tools to get out of our own way. Reach out to somebody that's struggling, in or out of addiction, whatever it is, because I promise you, within a few minutes, as you focus on somebody else, you'll get your mind out of your own head. This is the greatest thing I've ever accomplished in my life. I've truly found my soul on this journey. And I always like to end it with this, that it's truly a one day at a time program, whether you have 12 years, 20 years, a week, or a month. I'm not exactly who I want to be. I'm not yet where I want to be, but I thank you, God, for not being the person I used to be. Thank you guys again for having me.
Darren, thank you so much for sharing your story. I apologize, to roll your video. Would you like to roll that now or?
It's up to
tell
you
me.
guys if you want.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think we'd love to see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You maniacs! Hulk Hogan here, the greatest of all time without a doubt. And I'm all pumped up today, brothers, about a buddy of mine, Darren Prince. He went way over the deep end and reeled himself back in, man, walking the straight and narrow. And I'm so proud of Darren Prince, I can't even tell you. So what you gonna do when Darren Prince runs wild on you?
Your story, your experience is a powerful one, isn't it?
Yep, very much. I was an opiate addict for many years, probably 20 plus years of my life, more than half my life. Accelerate my success in business ultimately became my downfall. Like any other substance, it turned on me. At first, for me, it started when I was a teenager, experimenting and insecurities, not feeling confident with myself, not feeling comfortable in my own skin, made me feel like Superman. I chased that feeling for many, many years. Then I miraculously, somehow, with the right people, got involved in the entertainment industry with some enormous global superstars. And
to my friend Darren Prince, man, I am so proud of you. I want to say I am so happy that I've seen the change in you, and it's been wonderful. You affected a lot of people's lives, so congratulations.
Hello, Darren. Charlie Sheen here. Just want to say congratulations. Your tireless commitments through service and faith while empowering others in body, mind, and spirit is beyond noble. Just absolutely beyond noble. Congratulations, brother.
About Darren Prince, love him to death. But the one thing about Darren Prince, he's a leader. He's never a follower, but he's a leader. He knows what life's all about. He did my life a lot for a better place in the world. Thank you, Darren Prince.
Darren Prince, you have been there for me through everything. Yes, I'm proud of you. Proud of you for being a man. Proud of you for writing a great book. Proud of you for being one of the most respected agents anywhere on God's green earth. You will always be, Darren Prince, a limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing son of a gun. Woo! Darren Prince, Nature Boy. Woo!
First and foremost, I want to say congratulations to Darren Prince. I wish I was there to celebrate. I truly believe there's not many in this recovery world that is more worthy of this honor. Not only is he a professional, but he walks the walk and talks the talk. His mission in life is to help others. Congratulations, my brother.
It was tough because I also didn't feel worthy. It goes back to that 14, 15-year-old kid. How did Darren Prince, Jewish kid from Livingston, New Jersey, had a great loving mother and father, but still felt like a broken piece of crap? That how am I in the room with these two kings that actually loved and respected me more than I ever loved and respected myself?
Magic Johnson inspiring his friend and agent Darren Prince to write a book, Aiming High, the memoir about Prince's own struggle and recovery from an opioid addiction.
From my pain in life, I found my purpose.
Du Jour magazine and founder Jason Bin celebrating the book's success at Pomona NYC with Darren's friends and colleagues like Dr. Drew Pinsky.
It took him many more bottoms before he really hit a moment of change. You got to read about it to hear that moment of change.
Thank you so much for writing the book, and please know that as I can help tell the story going forward, it is worth reading.
Wow, that was really powerful to hear all of those people supporting Darren. And I think something he said really resonated with me that probably resonates with a lot of you. Whether you've been through addiction, you know somebody who's been through addiction. If you've lived a certain amount of years on this earth, you have walked through hot coals. And we learn a lot more in life from walking through hot coals than just about anything else. And as he said, he found his soul, and what a great message for everyone watching tonight. Next up, we have another powerful speaker, Jasmine Kemal. She is a former opioid addict. She now helps others through a great organization here in Raleigh called Healing Transitions. they take people right off the streets, homeless people who are in addiction, and they try to help them get on a better path. Jasmine started using opioids 8 years ago. She was homeless for 3 years. She came to Healing Transitions in 2014, and now she's not only sober, but she is working to help other people at this program do the same. So we welcome Jasmine. Jasmine.
Thank you so much, Amanda, and thank you, Marilyn, for allowing me to be a part of this remarkable summit. It's such an honor and privilege to share my message of hope and grace that was given to me from God and Healing Transitions and 12-step programs. It's actually been exactly 6 years today since I used heroin or any other opioid. October 8th of 2014 was the last day that I surrendered to my addiction and just put my hands up and said, I can't do this anymore. So many powerful stories and so many amazing things being said tonight. I can relate to many of the stories. Frida, your story and what you've been through brought tears to my eyes. You are probably my new hero. But anyway, I grew up in Fairfax County, Virginia, very prominent town, close about 15, 20 minutes away from Washington, D.C. Like many of us that have shared tonight, I felt like I didn't fit in. I hated the way that I felt. I was uncomfortable in my own skin. I felt different from everybody. And so from a young age, the way that I wanted to keep friends around and people around me is I would just give things to people. Even if I had to steal it from someone else to give it to you, I thought that was the way that I could keep people as my friends. And I had a good childhood. My parents gave me everything that I needed, pretty much everything that I wanted. I think it's impossible to give me everything that I wanted because I always wanted more. But I have an older sister who did not suffer from addiction, a younger brother who doesn't suffer from addiction. We all grew up in the same household, so I definitely can't blame my addiction on the way that I grew up. However, many years later, I lost my mom to pancreatic cancer when I was 22 years old. She left behind many, many painkillers. And so I dived right in to those painkillers when she passed away. That was how I grieved, with the pain. I just couldn't deal with it. So every day I would take, it was actually methadone was what I started off with. So I would take her methadone pills and drink a bottle of wine pretty much every night. Her best friend would come over and take the bottles of wine and pour them down the drain. And I would be so angry, but so relieved at the same time because she was doing something for me that I couldn't do for myself. And that was to get rid of the alcohol. Later, moving on, the methadone wasn't strong enough for me. I started to need stronger painkillers. So I advanced to 30 milligram oxycodone, and then it went up to 80 milligram oxycontin, and I was spending $80 to $100 on one pill a day. So you can imagine how much money I needed to keep up with my habit. The guy that I was dating at the time, we would do anything and everything to get money to support our habit, whether it was robbing our friends, whether it was robbing banks, whether it was stealing checks from our family members. We didn't care, and we hurt everybody that came in our path or anybody that tried to stop us. And eventually, the way that I was living got me, my choices got me incarcerated. I have been in and out of jail many, many times. But one time, I decided that I would try and get away with bringing cocaine into the jail with me. But I did get caught, and I ended up getting sentenced to 2 years probation. But if I complied with probation, it was a felony. If I complied with probation, the felony would get removed from my record. Of course, I did not comply with probation. So they ended up sentencing me to 11 months in prison. So I went to prison for 11 months and I was away from any type of mind-altering substance. But the moment I came out, the day that I came out, I took 4 Klonopin and went to the bar and blacked out. And the next morning I woke up next to a man that to this day I still have no idea what his name is. My parents and my sister, well, my father and my sister, who was, growing a family, raising, she was having kids, she had gotten married. They told me they didn't want me anywhere near them any longer. They were cutting me off. They didn't want to have anything to do with me. And they actually told me, they were like, we don't want to have anything to do with you. You're not welcome in our homes. You might as well just leave the state if you could. So for reasons back then, I couldn't tell you why, but today I know that God laid this plan out for me to come to Raleigh, North Carolina. So I chose Raleigh, North Carolina and I came here with $400 in the clothes on my back. I came here, stayed in a hotel, and found a job at a bar immediately. And I immediately got connected with a pain clinic doctor who was giving me 180 oxycodons because I told her my back hurt. Those oxycodons would be gone within a week. And then the rest of the month I would be withdrawing and wanting to commit suicide because of how bad the withdrawals were. So I eventually started shooting heroin. I got connected with, many drug dealers. And that was much cheaper, it was much easier to get. I didn't have to wait each month to meet with a drug dealer. So my habit was it just went downhill from there. I added a lot more pain to my life. I ended up getting kicked out of where I was living. I was prostituting. I did anything and everything I needed to do to get heroin. That was the reason why I was living at this point. I moved into a house with a girl who was my friend. We got a house together and she had no idea what was going on until I started stealing money from her. She started noticing the terrible things that I was doing and that there was definitely something going on with me. I came home one day and all the furniture was out of the house. The lights were turned off. The electricity was off. The water was off. She had taken her stuff and left. She was terrified of me and I don't blame her. I continued to live in that house for about another month, like an animal. I didn't care. Thought it was normal to me. That was normal to me because I had my heroin and that's all I cared about. But then the pain was becoming unbearable. I would sit in the room by myself and get high and cry and just ponder about the miserable life that my life had become. How did I get to this? I came from a loving family and I was raised well. Where did this come from and how did it come so fast upon me? I started getting in trouble with the law again and I got arrested. And I bonded out. The one person that I knew might bond me out did, and it was my boss at the time. And then maybe 2 weeks later, I got arrested again. But this time, I didn't want to leave. Being in jail was a better alternative to the life I was living. I had a place to shower. I had a bed to sleep in. I had a roof over my head. I had 3 meals a day. Compared to the life I was living out there, I was prostituting, I was overdosing, I was getting guns put to my head. I was living in the streets. So jail is where I wanted to be. I got on my knees and I surrendered. And I asked God for help. I needed something different. And so I reached out to the women in the jail with me and I told them that I needed help and that if I went back on the streets that I was going to die. So they gave me some suggestions of treatment centers in the area and Healing Transitions. Healing Place of Wake County at the time came up many times. And so I reached out to their director of programs sent her a letter in the mail, and she mailed me back immediately, and said, let us know when you're released and we'll be happy to come pick you up. And that was the plan. And this moment I got released, I went to my probation officer and I called Healing Transitions to let them know I was released. And 2 women that were in the program, in the last part of the program, came to pick me up and brought me back to Healing Transitions. Sadly to say, both of those women have both lost their lives in their battle to opioid addiction. One was found recently on the side of the road in the street dead, and the other one was also found overdosed a few years before that. When I got to Healing Transitions, the detox monitor told me something that will resonate with me for the rest of my life. She said, don't worry, you're safe now, and you never have to live that life that you were living before. And that was the nicest thing that anyone has said to me in a very long time. It made me feel like someone actually cared about me again. And this program was very different from any place I'd ever been before. It is a peer-ran program. And like Amanda said, they take people off the streets, homeless people off the streets as many times as you need to, free of charge. And they serve uninsured, just underserved homeless individuals suffering from drug addiction and alcoholism. And this place, I absolutely believe, saved my life. I went through this program for exactly a year. And throughout this program, it connected me with a 12-step program, a network of amazing women who are part of my life today. I also met my fiance in Alcoholics Anonymous. And we're still together today, and we have a beautiful 3-year-old boy who will be 4 on November 2nd. After I graduated the program, this place taught me simple things of how to live a productive life. You know, make your bed in the morning before you leave the house, and turn the lights off when you leave, and just simple things of how to be a normal human being that I just didn't know how to do before. And this place employed me. I now work for them as the capital campaign coordinator. We are in the middle of a capital campaign to expand both of our facilities. We have a men's facility and a women's facility. And we're in the middle of this campaign because we will never scratch the surface of how many people need recovery. It's so devastating. Almost every week or every Monday, I come into work and we get emails about another lost life to opioid addiction. So we are expanding because our organization is so overcrowded. We're the only place in Wake County that has a non-medical detox, a wet shelter, which means you can come in under the influence of drugs and alcohol to detox and get some rest, as long as you don't have any drugs or alcohol on you. This place, I always get so emotional because I always say that it's given me my family. It's given me a life, and which helps me help other people. Every day I go into work and I just do my best to connect with the participants that are there and to help them through the situations that they're going through. Anything that they're going through seems so minimal to my situations that I have right now. Just because I'm sober, life is not perfect, but it's better than it could have ever been when I was living in the streets. We have a house, my fiance and my 3-year-old son. We live in a beautiful house. We are renting, but we are starting to look to buy a house next month. We have another baby on the way that we're really excited about. Never in a million years would I thought that I could be a mother to another human being. I couldn't even take care of myself not many years ago, and now I'm a mother. My relationship with God has become the most relationship in my life, because without that relationship, I would not be able to continue living each day, fighting I don't even really want to say that it's fighting anymore because it's become much easier. But it's definitely a challenge. And without God, there's no way that I could live this life. And I just want to thank you so much again for allowing me to be a part of this and to allow me to share my story for those who might need to hear it. Thank you.
Jasmine, thank you so much for your candor. And you touched on something really important, which is that, you know, people don't choose to be homeless. Many, many people who are homeless are suffering from addiction. And Healing Transitions is just, I can't say enough great things about it. They do a fantastic job. So thank you for speaking, and thank you for all the work that you do. We really appreciate it. We are going to check back in with Lyudmilla and see how the art's going.
Hi guys. Here it is.
Wow.
It's coming along. I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully there's not too much sheen on it, but it's 36 by 36 inches. You can see the woman, you can see the eagle now.
That is beautiful. How do you do that so quickly? How do you do that so quickly? It's amazing.
Thank you. I'm really fast.
You are.
So inspiring. You're all heroes. I was just hearing the stories and they're absolutely amazing. You guys inspiring. So this is what I produce.
Well, that's very beautiful. And you're right. When you're listening to all this inspiration, it's hard not to do something that, you know, creative. If you have that talent, that's fantastic. You know, we're going to have one more personal story tonight that I think will inspire people. And this is David Foster. He is in recovery. He lives in Bali. He joins us tonight to talk about his experience. He's been in and out of rehabs, and he's grateful to be alive. He's retired. He used to work on Broadway, but he's somebody that has taken this journey like so many of you, and he's going to share that journey with us now. David.
Hello, everyone. Hi, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. It's a pleasure to get up so early in the morning. I'm 12 hours ahead of East Coast time there, so I'm already in mid-morning on Friday. But anyway, so I've had plenty of coffee. And so I grew up in South Carolina, in Charleston, as a beach boy. Started out as a beach boy. I'm ending up as a beach boy. That's sort of symmetrical there. Moved in when I was 14 years old. My father died abruptly, just up and died one night. And there I was being 14 years old. And I don't think it was a coincidence that when I was about 14 years old, I started drinking quite heavily. We would go to high school football games every Friday night, just absolutely inebriated. That's what we would do. You know, around that time, you know, started smoking. And then, I mean, we were crazy. It was you know, this is, I'm talking about in the early 70s. So, you know, we would do acid and go to class. We would go to acid and go to high school. I mean, that was that time. And it wasn't like we were outrageous or unusual. I mean, it was a pretty wild time to be growing up. Finished school. I mean, I was thought of myself as a social drinker. I wouldn't drink all day long and stuff. And, you know, I would do whatever I did during the day. Then at night, we'd go out and party, and we'd party until we passed out. That was sort of our MO. Finished school, moved to New York. Was very lucky. Moved to New York in February. In May, I'm working on Broadway. And basically the same. You know, I was an upright citizen during the day, and by night, you know, 10 o'clock came, 10:30 came, the show would be over, and we were out in the streets in the 80s in New York. We call them the bad old days. We did more. I mean, these were the days when virtually everyone I knew was doing cocaine and drinking alcohol all of the time. when that was the bad old 80s. That's what we called it. Fast forward several years, I'm just having a outwardly very successful life, having a wild and good time at night, and it was a good time. I mean, it was a pretty shallow experiences in retrospect, but and then in 2009, it reached a point where I was just drinking. Well, I came from a family of alcoholics. There wasn't any alcohol in the house when we were growing up. My dad didn't drink, occasionally socially maybe, and my mom didn't really drink at all. But we siblings, 3 of the 4 of us are full-on alcoholics. And I'm the only one in recovery. I've got one that's a high-functioning alcoholic brother, a very low-functioning sort of, what's going to happen if you don't get better sister. In 2009, though, reached a point where I was just miserable. I was house sitting on Fire Island off of New York, and literally in the course of a couple of days, emptied a pretty vast bar in a nice house, a nice friend's house. Just literally drank everything in the house and had to be medevaced off the island, and ended up in a rehab in Florida, and got sober and stayed sober for 2 years, and thought that was, thought, oh, I fixed myself. I'm good to go. Well, then, of course, life happened. Made a couple of bad decisions. Brought an alcoholic, opioid, benzodiazepine addict girlfriend into my home. That didn't work out well. And I went back to rehab, and I sort of started from 2009 to about 2.5 years ago, a long journey of rehab, sober for 6 months, 2 months, hospitalization, and I was in 6 rehabs. I would go through whatever brief periods of sobriety I would go through, whether it was 2 months or the better part of a year. I would always jump right back into work. I work all over the world, and I've done a lot of rock and roll too. So I was living in Europe. Ultimately, I was living in Europe, working on a successful project, doing great. And the next thing I know, I wake up in the hospital because I passed out in front of my apartment in Hamburg, and literally fell on my face and knocked myself out. Ended up going into rehab in Thailand, and somehow, and this is where my story sort of diverges. I was treated for the first time. I was treated for alcohol. For the first time, I was treated for addiction, as opposed to alcoholism, and the pieces just sort of came together. And I knew before I walked out of that rehab, and I stayed in Thailand for a while, but I knew I knew I was done. I knew that I didn't need to drink anymore. I knew I was an addict. It was something about that verbiage that resonated with me. I would never, ever, ever disparage the 12-step programs. I've seen miracle after miracle after miracle occur in those rooms, but somehow I was just back and forth to rehab, rehab, life, crash, rehab, life, crash. It was my cycle, and so anyway, so that happened. And I went, and then I decided, well, I want to do everything I can to keep this. And so I decided the one thing I could do is, and I was fortunate enough to be able to do it at a relatively young age, is I said, I'm done. I'm going to retire. I'm going to take the rest of my life and take the rest of my life. So I did that, and went to Costa Rica for a while. Went back to Thailand, came to Bali about 1.5 years ago, I had been sober about a year, came to Valley for 2 weeks, and within a couple of days, I knew I was going to stay here. And so that's what I did. So I'm trying to mold the point of my story and my message. And I think that ultimately it is, don't let anyone ever tell you that they have the only way, the only path to something. You know, if something's not working for you, keep looking and keep struggling. Keep the struggle going until you're not struggling anymore. And just stay open to the wide and varied resources that are available to we addicts, because life is pretty sweet these days. I used to surf as a kid. Now I'm surfing every day now. One of the things when I was initially asked to do this, I was thinking, well, it'll get me up early, and you know, it's getting up at 6 is no problem, because then I'm up and I can go to and you know, the morning is a kind of a good time to do that around here. You know, so it's just life can be sweet no matter how ridiculous it's been in the past, and no matter how absurd your choices and behavior and how dark your inner world was. There's light at the end of the tunnel. There is light, and our paths are varied and different, and you just have to find yours. Thank you.
David, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I think that's really important for people to hear that, you know, everybody has a different journey, right? Everybody has a different path. And that's what this event is all about. You know, we've had the privilege now tonight of seeing art. We've had the privilege of hearing poetry. And now we're going to hear a beautiful song that was written by Louis Lamoureux and performed by his son. It is about Louis's son who overdosed Paul, and it's Carl who's going to perform it. It's his brother, Paul. And while we're listening to this, we're also going to view some of those banners.
Oh, yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Louis Lamoureux. I have 3 children. As Amanda said, on August 31st, 2016, we lost our son, Paul. He died of opioid use disorder. Since then, I've done some writing, including lyrics for a number of songs, and I'm very fortunate to be in a family of musicians who can put music to these lyrics. My son, Carl, and I created the song you're about to hear just recently. In fact, this is the first time that Carl performs it in public. It describes the situation that people with opioid use disorder face, given our society's view about this disease. However, the song also pays tribute to the heroes who are working hard to make things better, heroes like we've heard from tonight. The world today is better than the world that Paul lived in 5 years ago. And it will be better 5 years from now as well. And it's a real tribute to the people who you've heard speak tonight, who are doing everything they can to make this world a better place. So I will turn it over to Carl. Carl is a full-time professional engineer and a part-time musician. Carl, thank you for your music. Over to you.
Thank you, Dad. Someone's sister, someone's son, it can capture anyone. Once it finds you, it seeks control, so it can slowly take its toll. They ache in silence, loved ones too. This conversation is taboo, but some people hear these silent screams Some brave souls spend their lives on that one goal. They're ending shame and improving care. They can see a world more fair. A lady is planting a million trees. Each life will whisper in the breeze. Some people hear these silent screams. Some people hear these silent screams. Some people hear these silent screams.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Really beautiful. It's kind of overwhelming, all of the things that we've heard tonight. Music, we've seen art, we've heard poetry, and we've heard these powerful testimonies. And I think we'd like to just wrap this up with a few final thoughts from Darren. Darren, if you could just kind of leave us with some inspiration, if you will. You inspired us so much during your speech, but if you have a few final words.
Yeah, no, thank you. Like I said, it's a God-given privilege, I think, for all of us to be here. And when Marilyn asked me to be a part of this, we connected like a spiritual brother and sister, and just said, if we can get to one person tonight, just one life. And I really have a feeling it's going to be more than that, with all our testimonies and our experience through our strength and hope. It's an enormous blessing. Just, for me, I have truly developed for the first time in my life that self-esteem that I was looking for so many years by doing esteemable acts. And I think a lot of people have to realize that, especially during these tough times, because COVID and a lot of other issues definitely seem to be taking precedent over the opiate epidemic. And, a lot of people really could be creating the best version of themselves at this time. Really reinvent, really look inside your soul and ask for help and reach out, because that's where the strength is. The weakness is when we stay in that place, that negative, toxic, disastrous, repeated behavioral patterns that, keep us in hell. And if you could just reach out, or, just ask anybody that you can trust for help, it's out there. And you can, really take your body and make a brand new beginning, as so many speakers here showed you tonight. So, with that, like I said, thank you for the privilege and the honor, Amanda, and everybody else that's been a part of this.
Thank you so much, Darren. And, you mentioned the pandemic. I think during the pandemic, it's even more important to remember that people who are dealing with substance abuse and also underlying mental health issues really need more help than ever. And, here we are doing this virtual event. Being socially distanced doesn't mean being emotionally distant. We can reach out to people. We can support people in addiction. Check in with people if they're going through a hard time. See what you can do to help, whether it's a phone call, a text, an email, a FaceTime, a Zoom. And, human connection is what heals us. And I think that's your message. That's the message of so many people here tonight, that with the help of others, the journey is possible to a better life. And tomorrow is a great day. There's going to be seminars and lots of things happening with the People's Opioid Summit. And you can find the link beneath this YouTube event where you can sign up and register for that event. It'll be going on all day tomorrow. So thank all of you who participated tonight. Thank you so much to the speakers. So humbled to hear your stories, your candor, and just your inspiring stories. And I know, as Darren said, you've reached more than one person. Definitely. Thank you all. Good night.